What's the worst piece of financial advice somebody has given you? One of my uncles once told me that I never really had to pay my phone bill. He suggested that I simply jump to another carrier and let the first company cut you off. His life has turned out exactly as you'd imagine. What happened? I used to know a guy whose family had always told him, while he was growing up, that the air was free. He was getting his mail sent to his family home for years as an adult. One day he needs to buy a car and guess what? His credit is trashed. Family threw away his medical bills the same as they did his. The worst part is now I know the biggest hospital in our area has a very liberal charity program. You can get 100% of your bill dropped if you are uninsured and make under 32k. Basically this whole guy's family would qualify for that program if they just did a little bit of paperwork rather than just throw away bills. This gives me anxiety. My wife had a friend whose family would do this with their home phone. They just started under a new name. Things were apparently more lax on the 90s. Just get another credit card. My friend who hasn't worked in 3 years and is currently just vibing with his new credit cards he somehow got approved for. A friend's family taught them to take out as many store cards and credit cards as they could, and as long as the minimum was paid, they'd be able to live a luxurious lifestyle. They were almost 100k in debt when they finally told me, from dozens of cards and interest, car loan, etc. Then did not want to discuss it further after I offered advice, lawyer, counseling. It's simply how their parents lived. Life on credit far beyond means. I could not live with that stress. It's so normal for some people though. Edit. Sorry I can't reply to everyone. I got like 100 responses and messages. If anyone is concerned about excessive debt, I strongly recommend the folks over at r/personal finance who are experts at this sort of advice. For those in extreme debt, a bankruptcy attorney should be consulted to work out a repayment plan in court. Credit card company seeing application, no job, multiple credit cards, spending habits, good enough, alrighty let's make some money, approved. I also see the reverse of this often where my friends in college were terrified of credit cards, even though they were great with money. Then they get out of college with no credit and don't realize that it's important for every aspect of life from apartments to car payments to utilities. I would spend a lot of time trying to explain why credit cards aren't necessarily the devil, and if you are responsible you can start building your credit early to get the jump on it before you leave college housing. Once you cut up the credit card, you don't have to pay it. My cousin is not doing so hot. I'm pretty sure there are warrants out for his arrest in several states. I work for a bank. The amount of times I get customers tell me I just got a phone call saying I owe, but I cancelled my card. I tell them we never received a notice that they cancelled it. And they say, but I cut it up. Dude, if cutting bills up would solve anything, life would be great. Like if credit cards had some kind of sensor. Once you cut up the credit card, you don't have to pay it. Throw it in a lake. They can't trace that crap. Ricky, Trailer Park Boys. My father would tell me to maximum my credit card on a new car, and if they asked for payments just say FM. What are they going to do? My father is several levels of debt hell deep that he's trying to get out of now, but has at least trying. What are they going to do? Send me to jail? These beanie babies are an investment in our future. Edit. Thank you for my first silver. 1997 I'm sitting in the office of my college job. An office mate's husband is visiting. He makes a phone call and starts negotiating over a price like he's selling Manhattan real estate. Turns out he's negotiating the sale of a beanie baby with a 12-year-old. After a few minutes his wife rolls her eyes and yells, "Let the little girl have the toy." My grandmother bought into that. She got a set for each of her granddaughters every time she bought one. She bought 3. My sister, my cousin and I, upon her passing, sat in her bedroom with tubs of the things going, one for you, one for you, one for me, one for you, one for you, one for me. I still have mine. I daren't get rid of them. Shall haunt me. My brother-in-law had a piece of the BB fad back in the late 90s. He marketed tag protectors that would slide over the tie tag and protect it, thus retaining/increasing the value of the baby in question. Don't laugh. He made a few millions off of that, lost it all later. Of course. Once the pog market bounces back, I'm gonna make these Bitcoin millionaires look like amateurs. People who want to get into collecting as an investment need to know two things. 1. There is no value in collectibles. You should only collect things you want to own, because the only value is what you can sell it for. Just because something is old doesn't mean that people will want to buy it. It doesn't matter if it's in pristine condition, unopened and 50 years old. If no one thinks it's cool, you wasted your money unless you get enjoyment from it. Most fandoms only want to collect very particular versions of a collectible. There are Beanie Babies that are worth a lot of money. The issue is, they were already worth a ton of money when they came out. An example is Pokemon cards. Individual first edition Pokemon cards sold for like $150 in 1999. Obviously lots of people scoffed at those types of prices, but those cards are now worth tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Once this current Pokemon bubble subsides a bit, which it is already doing, all of the people stocking up on regular unlimited base set non-Charizard cards for hundreds or even thousands of dollars are likely going to get burned, and I'm one of them. Spend it quickly, or it'll get stolen. Coming from someone with a history of losing and blowing their money, or not even stolen. Folks who've never had enough to get by comfortably have a little imp on their shoulder telling them to spend it now, or it'll just go to next month's rent, and you won't get to enjoy anything nice with this cash. When I got to university and opened a student current account, I received an interest-free overdraft of about $1,200. I wasn't entirely sure of what that meant. My brother informed me, so that's like your new zero, and encouraged me to use it to buy a new gaming PC. For the next few years I really wish I hadn't taken that advice. Has never been too amazing with his money, so I should have seen that one coming. Unfortunately we have to learn the hard way sometimes. I maximumed out a credit card once, because I was like damn this is like never ending free money. Boy did I feel dumb as duck when my card was declined in a McGill Jr. drive-thru. I remember when I was working at the bookstore in college. Students could get I believe also $1,200 a semester on their bookstore account as part of their student loan. And they would not buy books and blow it on food and clothes without realizing it was part of their loan they would have to pay off. It was seriously free money to them. That an emergency fund wasn't necessary when you can always get a payday loan or use your credit card. He wasn't joking. My cousin's car broke down and he didn't have enough savings to get it fixed. He took out a $600 payday loan. He's still paying it off. Almost 2 years later. How this crap is still legal baffles the truck out of me. Anxiety. Somebody needs to book this man's act. He knows how to generate interest. 1976 San Francisco. Keep renting. No one will ever pay $35,000 for a 2-bedroom house and garage with a sweeping view of the East Bay. Added later, I went back to visit the old neighborhood a few years ago. Those $35,000 stucco homes up many flights of steps perched on the top of Potrero Hill were now all gentrified, remodeled, gated, and asking 1M+, and that was 5 years ago. And now you live on Maui. Don't take a raise if it puts you into the next tax bracket, and pay the minimum on your credit card to establish good credit. As others have pointed out, sometimes getting into another bracket or other threshold may affect other benefits such as food stamps and other government/non-governmental assistance. Mileage may vary. I was specifically talking about taxes. People at my work make it sound like working overtime makes your paycheck smaller than it would be without. Not a single time has this actually happened. The getting a raise into the next tax bracket is the dumbest statement ever, made by people who don't understand the very simple mathematics of tax brackets. Several years ago, my company went under new management. They were going to have to pay us all of our remaining unused PTO. I figured, great. I have a ton of PTO left. Like 5,000 worth. I had a lot of unused hours. One of my colleagues said you're going to be hit with taxes. And she said it like, oh, you better be prepared. Don't get excited. They're going to tax the deuce out of you anyway, so don't expect much. I get hit with taxes every paycheck, lady, and when I did the math, they didn't take out a higher percentage of that PTO than I normally have taken out of my paycheck. So when I did the math beforehand, I managed my expectations well then. I was a manager of a call center. The call center agents made $12.00 an hour. But once I came in, I raised it to $15.50 an hour. One of them complained to me that this means her taxes are being raised and she's earning less. She didn't see the higher number on the bottom of her check for some reason. So when I was 24, I was financially struggling. I had a job that worked me a lot of hours, but only paid me $10 an hour. My parents talked me into buying a brand new 2004 four-door Honda Civic. The pre-interest price tag on it was about $25,000. A few weeks after getting it, my hours got regulated, and it took one entire paycheck to make the monthly note on it. I could not afford the insurance on it. I very quickly realized my parents were bad at money. I think that's one of the hard things to swallow when it comes to growing up. Your parents might be doocety with money. I ignored a lot of my parents' financial advice and am so glad I did. They both made decent money, but borrowed against their house, bought cars they didn't need, and paid for other ridiculous things. They basically lived paycheck to paycheck. This wasn't really their fault, because none of us, least of all 20-year-old me lol, could have predicted the fallout from the recession. I was in college when it hit. About halfway through a bachelor's degree. Were not rich, and I was paying for it with loans on a semester by semester basis. Friday, you could get a loan. Then suddenly by Monday you couldn't. Anywhere. Friends were dropping out left and right, unable to come up with the money for the next semester. That's when my parents gave me the worst financial advice I'll probably ever get. Take on a $25,000 private student loan with a variable interest rate of 11%. The logic was, we'd refinance it right after college. Simple as that. We didn't predict IDK. If they should have known. It's whatever. That private student loans would be insatiable. No one would refinance it, and I was trapped with this absurdly high interest loan. Every year I'd try once, maybe twice, and I was always rejected for having too bad a debt to income ratio. The payments plus the payments of my other loans were too high to make anything but the minimums, which went straight to interest. It was like I'd hanged myself, but misjudged the length of the rope, and could just barely skate my toes on the ground and keep me alive. Barely. It took years to get out from under it. In the end, some 8 years later, we made the final payment. On a $27,000 loan I paid an additional $23,000 in interest at a 13% rate. Edit. Dang, woke up with that pregnancy bladder. Thanks everyone. So happy to have things to read while I can't sleep lol. A quick update. I'm in a great place now. Funnily, if it weren't for college and all this, I'd never have met my husband, who ultimately would convince me to change careers into software engineering and support me doggedly while I changed careers and turned the tables on my debt. It's no exaggeration, he saved my life. It's funny, I make more money now than I ever would have as a professional cook, and am, as far as the tech industry is concerned, not formally educated. I have about $25,000 left at a reasonable fixed 5%, and I think I'm going to pay it off this year. Just in time for the baby, who is getting a fund for college/life before the damn cord falls off. This one hurt the most to read. That interest rate's mortifying. Most people get happy if they make that much on the stock market in a year. This should be freaking illegal. I'm sorry this happened to you. People don't understand the hurt that deregulation of the lending industry did to average people. It wasn't even like you understood what you were doing. You listened to your parents, who, I'm assuming, were making a cogent argument at the time for why the loan made sense. Woof. I graduated directly into the recession and knew our generation had it rough. But I didn't realize what it was like to still be in school during it. Good work making it to the other side. Don't go to community college. You'll never get a job. Instead apply at X and X colleges. My grandmother, aunt, uncle, and cousin all told me this, and I really considered their advice, because my parents really didn't give a crap what I did. Since I didn't get any scholarships from high school, I decided at least if I went to CC and didn't get a job, I wouldn't have student debt and I could just do something else. I went to CC for 2 years totally free on FAFSA grants. It was $800 a semester lol, and did so well I transferred to a university with an almost full ride. I'm now a semester away from graduation with a job lined up and all of $4,000 of student debt, which is likely to be forgiven anyway. Good for you. I'd give you gold, but as we're on a wasting money thread that seems too ironic lol. Anyone who craps on community college is an enormous idiot. Bravo. Dude, community college was the smartest move I made, changed my life, taught me a trade. Hold on to those French francs. They will be worth a lot someday. I'm not holding my breath. Well, they probably will be eventually. In about 1000 years they may sell for something good at auction. If well preserved you'll be quids in. I totally misread this and spent the past 60 seconds figuring out how French fries could conceivably be a good investment. My fill when I mention our retirement plan, I never contribute to my retirement account. Money now is always better than money later. I needed to have a conversation with my husband how we would not be supporting his mom and dad in their insane spending when they have no retirement plan and make huge financial mistakes on a weekly basis. Good news is they both make good money. Sounds like someone who was taught ROI once and has misapplied it ever since. Don't worry about a career. Armageddon will come before you finish high school. My parents, Jehovah's Witnesses, being raised to JW really stunted my social and emotional growth. And them saying deuce like college is a waste because you're learning worldly things and the end is coming soon blah blah blah. Kitten cats. Ugh, that's what happened to my dad. It's one of the biggest regrets of his life. When my mom said that she will hold my money for me as a kid, my mom opened a bank account for me when I was 7, promising to put a small amount there every month so once I'm 18 I'll have a nice fund to start my life with. Turned 18 and found out she used the account to take out a deuce ton of loans that I now have to pay back. My grandfather was pretty wealthy and gave us 50 to 100 each birthday. My mom kept it safe for us. I'm pretty sure she used it at least once to pay the light bill when the power got shut off, so at least it went to good use. Never saw a dime of it myself. Don't invest in a 401k. Luckily, I didn't listen. Yup. My husband was told not to because his job doesn't match, but 15 years later it's over 80k, so I don't call that a bad choice at all. Edit. While I love all condemnation of this, please understand that everyone does things differently. I don't care if you make 127k in your 401k every year. You don't have to put down others. We're good. We will be good and have other assets that when liquefied will set us for retirement. Edit. The bottom line is that for some people saving money is hard. This is at least something. Also, I advise anyone to go to a banker, financial planner or financial lawyer for investing advice instead of a Reddit thread. Edit 3. This was not an argument/discussion about retirement products or options. The simple point I was making is that 80k is better than zero. My aunt took me to a car dealership when I was looking to buy my own first car. I was looking at the clunkers I could afford, but she said I should be looking at the new cars. She said, the total price doesn't matter because you make monthly payments. I suddenly understood too well why she had always been so financially unstable. I had a car dealer say this to me once when I asked the price on a 4 to 5 year old car. The actual price doesn't matter. It's the monthly payment that you really need to know how to run good, mate, but cheers anyway. I walked away wondering how does he possibly sell any cars that way, but after reading this sub, maybe I'm wrong. Join my MLM and make lots money. No. Anytime I hear this crap from a friend it's the last time I ever speak to them. Just get it at Rent A Center. I had a coworker that got pretty much everything there. It's only 20/week and they'll replace it if it breaks. 20/week for how long? Oh cool. So you're paying more than double for it? Got it. I still remember calling up a Rent A Center to see if it was remotely worthwhile to rent a computer of a pair of months way back in the 90s/early zeros. It was a couple hundred a month, which was not even remotely worthwhile even my preteen mind. Put it all on black. Only bad advice half the time. Edit. I know how roulette works, I just felt like only using 6 words. No art's better than winning money on roulette, doubling down and winning even more. Me to me. Don't make more money, you'll go up a tax bracket and end up paying more taxes, so you'll end up making less overall. This isn't how taxes work, people. If you go one into the next tax bracket, only that one is taxed higher. You can't make less money by making more money. Edit. Yay. My first awards. Thanks party people. A few people pointed out some edge cases. For example, tiered benefit packages can cause this to not always be quite true. Also, you might notice your immediate paycheck not be as high from working a few overtime shifts that you would expect. That's because the taxes which are taken from that individual check are calculated as though that's how much you make all year. It gets a little more complicated, but it will be worth it come tax time. Overtime is a great way to earn some extra cash if you have the time and energy. Edit 2. This is also coming from Canada. From reading replies, I've learned a lot about tax in several other countries I never knew. Thanks everyone. I had to tell my boss, who works in payroll, about this. Like, dude. Yeah, even if they've recently robbed you, you should still lend them the $500 they need to move to another city. They're your family after all. Dad, I don't even know how mom married your dumbass. This sounds like my mom. You should forgive him, as your brother and family is important. Was I important enough the multiple times he stolen my debit or credit card, or when he stole my identity and got payday loans online? The forgiveness she was referring to in my example. Spend whatever is in your bank account the day before payday. You obviously don't need it. That's what a savings account is for. Guy I haven't seen in 3 years also wanted to talk me into starting a business with him because he just got into college for a bachelor's degree in business. Yeah, sure, let me get my checkbook out in this badly illuminated garage while we're both drunk. Guy also got into MLM and weird self-optimization preachers. My unsolicited advice in those situations: tell them to give you a call tomorrow to discuss it further. Give them a chance to come down from the alcohol and or coke. Get a bigger mortgage. You can deduct more from your taxes. Yeah, dumbers. And I'll be spending double that amount in interest, so why should I? Any advice to avoid taxes by spending more money or making less is ridiculous. Take out a student loan. You'll be able to pay it back easy when you have a degree. If my bank didn't stop payments on all loans during the pandemic, I'd literally be homeless and they'd still be trying to get my money. Someone gave me the great advice to take out a loan to pay off a loan. I didn't listen to this advice. They are now is $80,000 debt I'm not. Edit, not in a refinancing way to save on interest. He is doing it as a pyramid scheme type thing. It does make sense though. If you're replacing a high interest loan with a low interest one, it's not really paying off the loan as you will still owe the same money to the bank or another bank. But over time you'll end up paying less interest on it. Incite me to go to a real expensive restaurant where you can spend easily $250 without drinks at a time. I only had $700 in bank account and had not paid for my car, groceries and stuff. Because come on, we only live once. How about we only live once on your dime then, since you feel so passionately about it? Because I'd like my one time living to be long and secure. Don't major in computer science. Computer scientists are a dime a dozen. I did not take that advice. I think the tough thing in computer science is finding a job that isn't boring as hell. Finding one to begin with that's also well paying is almost absurdly easy, even if you're a terrible programmer. A relative tried to recruit me into Amway. He wound up stuck with a garage full of their products. An uncle told me I should rather spend my money and enjoy life, because you only live once, rather than save your money to build up a retirement fund. I'm now in my 50s and C0 Rona unemployment has devastated the little bit of savings I had. Should never have listened to Uncle Jarvis. All my homies hate Uncle Jarvis. I got $90 and my 11-year-old son told me I should buy $90 worth of kazoos. No real plan past that. Probably among the better pieces of advice on this thread. 6/10 things on r/Wall Street Bets are the worst financial advice I've ever gotten. And they would agree with you. Legit got told to don't buy food. It's a useless investment like the hell. Tough. You can live the entire rest of your life without food. Not exactly what the question's asking, but my mom has an aunt who thinks the bank is just giving you free money when you use the ATM. I'm not trying to be mean, but does she just have an actual learning disability or impairment? An ATM is a concept most 12-year-olds would be able to comprehend. I've lived on my own since I was 17. I bought a car and worked my ass off to pay it off. It needed new tires, So I called my mom to ask her how to go about it. I literally didn't know tires had sizes for pet's sake. She told me to just go trade it in for a new car. And I freaking listened to her. I traded a paid off 5-year-old car because it needed new tires. You guys. It's a banana. What could it cost? $10? Go to college. You'll figure out what you want to study later. But if you don't go now, you'll never go. Duck that. What kind of fool spends $80k without a goal or purpose? I feel personally attacked by this comment. Had a professor in this kind of bootleg college. He clearly took the job as a favor. He was some Wall Street type. He said he doesn't get why students who are young and have no assets don't just borrow a deuce ton of money to pay for college, then declare bankruptcy since they have no assets anyway. Aside from wrecking your credit, student loans aren't dischargeable by bankruptcy. Take out a $401k loan to build a pool. It will raise the value of your house. Just ignore the collection call and eventually they will leave you alone. I didn't follow this advice. I had a parking ticket I didn't know about that ended up on my credit and the guy I mentioned it to gave me that bit of wisdom. Not me, but my dad's friend makes a decent more money than him. He owns boats, takes luxurious trips, buys top of the line clothes, and goes to the best restaurant where he orders the most expensive wine he can get. He always tells my dad to live more in the moment, telling him to invest in himself and enjoy his life. My dad is happily planning his retirement with my mom. This guy doesn't have a dime saved. He will work to the day he dies. A local businessman died unexpectedly in his 50s a few years ago. He had very nice cars, a very nice home, traveled regularly and had bought a boat costing in excess of $1 million shortly before his death. He was in debt up to his ass. His wife was blissfully unaware of the financial situation. Everything she tried to sell was encumbered by more debt than it was worth. The boat cost her $200,000 to get rid of. She was essentially 55 years old with no money, no home and no marketable skills. He had made millions in his life, but spent millions more.